right, let's bring him in. He comes and he goes on a rainbow. We have Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, here to.
Hey, Kim. Hello, JL. You're a big man. You're a strong man with tears in your eyes. I know you're crying for the country. I figure that's what's going on. Guys, I'm broadcasting from an undisclosed location this week. After all the controversy about James Comey's 8647 post, I fear reprisals from Mark for having tweeted 86MT earlier this week.
You didn't.
But you'll notice that we have JL today instead of MT, so maybe I was onto something.
Maybe you were. Maybe JL is sweeping in as the new host of the show.
I don't know. We're happy to have him here, and hello to you, Kim, and to Albert.
You're not happy to have me too? Okay, that's fine.
Our wonderful audience, love you guys. You know, this is an odd duck of a week in spring because there are no true blockbuster movie openings, unless you want to count the latest installment in the Final Destination horror franchise. And I did not get to see Final Destination Bloodlines due to studio ineptitude, you know, meaning no access to a critic screening in Los Angeles, where I spend part of my time. And for those who don't know, the general premise of these movies is that attractive young people somehow avoid dying by chance. So death, presented as an invisible version of a, you know, Jason or Freddy serial killer, inevitably catches up to them and knocks them off in unexpected and or horribly ornate ways that are often so absurd as to be comical, you know, Grizzly style. And I've seen a few of these movies. And though I'd have bit the bullet and seen this one, I wasn't given a chance, and I won't bemoan missing it. So you're on your own. It appears to be getting good reviews, and it's kind of the highest profile release this week. I felt I just had to address it. So let's move on to what I have seen. And I will point out that, you know, I'm kind of a consumer guide. So what should you watch this weekend? Well, I can't recommend The Weeknd's vanity project, Hurry Up Tomorrow, despite some typically slick and catchy music by the pop star, who, by the way, his real name is Abel Tesfaye. Well, anyway, he's playing a fictionalized, disturbed, and decidedly unappealing and annoying version of himself. Yeah, great way to win friends and influence people. Even more surprising is that he somehow convinced Jenna Ortega to play a weirdo, destructive groupie who does this bizarre lip sync dance to one of his songs in his hotel suite while tormenting him. You know, and I briefly thought I was watching Stephen King's Misery Karaoke. And then Oscar nominee Barry Keoghan, the guy who was in the Banshees of Inisherin, he's playing the Joker in the more recent Batman movie. He's also on board with this claptrap, playing the Weeknd's hyper manager. So I'm thinking, why did he do this? And he did have a significant role of note in the less than worthwhile pop music oriented TV drama series, The Idol. But The Weeknd wasn't playing The Idol in that show. In any event, this is considerably worse than the half-ass The Idol. And I'm sitting there in disbelief. And I wondered what made him think shooting this kind of befuddling, melodramatic, and tedious script was a better idea than making a concert film. I mean, he ain't that great an actor, especially when a glance from Ortega and a grimace from Keoghan speak volumes more than any of his overt histrionics. Then again, Ortega and Keoghan aren't done any favors by the screenplay. It's a mess. And, you know, she's been very busy, Jenna Ortega, of late. She's in the recent kind of smart comedic horror film Death of a Unicorn, which came out about a month or so ago and is now available for streaming. And I'll talk a little bit about that later in the segment. But, you know, I guess the woman wants to work. She's got Wednesday coming up, series 2 or 3 of the very popular Netflix series based on the Charles Addams character of Wednesday Addams. And, you know, I'm looking forward to that. But this does her no favors. That said, Hurry Up Tomorrow is in theaters starting today.
I'm going to take it that you're not recommending that one.
No, I'm absolutely not. And congratulations to the Weekends fans who will show up to see him in this. But,
Yeah.
good luck
Yeah.
and God bless you. All right. Here's a movie that is not going to make it to all of the multiplexes across our great nation. It's called Sister Midnight. And it's all about an arranged marriage between a mismatched man and woman who are living in a ramshackle, overheated Mumbai neighborhood. And this marriage goes more and more off the rails in Sister Midnight as nobody's needs are being met. And as the title suggests, the movie focuses on the woman in the couple, Uma, who is, by the way, brilliantly played by Radhika Apte. And she is a real find, and she's comedic and she's dramatic and she's, attractive in her way, although she looks like a mess part of the time. But she's fantastic in this. Uma becomes increasingly unhinged, even animalistic, and both physically and mentally ill as her situation with this guy continues to get worse and worse and worse. And she also has to deal with the disdain of those around her. And it all starts to get to her. So like the neighbors are constantly like rolling their eyes at her and her behavior. And everybody knows, because the walls of this place where they live are thin, that their sex life is like non-existent. So Uma is stuck in this tiny hovel while her socially and sexually inept husband is at work. And through this horrible circumstance, she's moved to vulgarity in her language and behavior, and she does some things that even go beyond that.
Sister Midnight sounds fun.
It's bizarre and it's comedic, and it is full of shocking, surreal moments that I don't want to get into. I will say it's not like anything I've ever seen before, and that is a good thing. It was written and directed by
There's never been anything like this.
Thank you. And it is in Hindi. It's in Hindi with English subtitles, and I just was completely wrapped up in it. And again, you've got this franchise tentpole opening across the country, and don't we have a horror movie every week, Kim? It's like every week brings another horror movie. And this week may be the big release of the week. But there are movies like Sister Midnight that have horror that's kind of implicit in the story and in how it plays out. And it is so much more satisfying, such a better film. So I do recommend it. It's in select theaters, and I'm sure it's going to be available on streaming at some point. And if you're adventurous, check it out. I think you'll be rewarded. So
okay,
Netflix.
So where can I see that again?
Select theaters, and like I said, in the past, I hope your theater is selected. I get that from Dave Letterman. But
all right.
Netflix puts out a lot of material. They acquire various and sundry TV shows from abroad. They finance TV series here and in England for play across the Netflix platform worldwide. And they also do some original movies, which is to their credit. And sometimes they're kind of movies like Roma, that elegant Alfonso Cuarón film that was in the Oscar discussion. And sometimes they make just feel-good films that may get released to theaters at the same time that they drop them on the streaming service. And one of those movies, a kind of a populist version of their film slate, is Nonas, that came out a few days ago. And
I saw this one, Michael. I saw this one.
I'm happy you did. Vince Vaughn stars in this heartwarming comedy. I don't know what else to call it. It's based on a true story or a true circumstance. And he may be kind of a smirky snark machine with a questionable politics. And yes, he is. But he brings just enough actual heart to his performance in Nonas. And the rest of the cast here is so legit and so deeply invested in what they're doing that it rises above the pitfalls that might befall such a potentially over-sentimental movie, which again is based on a true story and situation. Vince Vaughn works in the Metropolitan Transit Authority in New York. And he is the son of an Italian family. He was very much his grandma, Nona, and mother's boy, and loved their cooking, the Italian family gatherings, the cuisine that brought back memories of his childhood when he would taste it as he grew into adulthood. And when his mother passes away, she leaves him insurance money. And one of his best friends, who is played in kind of uncommon fashion, because you hardly expect to see him doing a role like this, but it's Joe Manganiello. He often plays like hard men, but he plays Vince Vaughn's best friend, and he's married to, from The Sopranos, Dre DiMatteo. And so they got real Italian actors to play. You don't know this kind of what do you call it, non-traditional casting. They cast Italians here.
Yeah,
And
except for Vince Vaughn, who doesn't seem very Italian to me in this movie.
Maybe he could be. He certainly seems thuggish at times, not to say that there's a blanket criminal vibe to all Italians. I happen to be in a family where my brother married an Italian woman. I love her dearly. The kids are part Italian. And I will say that I love the cuisine. So this really touched me. And the cooking foodie sequences where they're making the Italian food is wonderful. But the food that his grandmother and mom made him was so important to him that when he gets this money, he decides he's going to open a restaurant in Staten Island that is going to feature that kind of Italian home cooking. And to that end, having lost his grandmother and mom, he reaches out to find elderly Italian women who have cooking skills and want to bring their family recipes to this restaurant. And it'll be something like thoroughly legit and wonderful. And among the women that he recruits, who are older and of the right ethnic circumstance, Brenda Vaccaro, Talia Shire, and Lorraine Bracco. And again, not Italian, but Susan Sarandon plays the most glamorous of these granny-aged women, who has a facility with pastry and was a longtime friend of the family's. And they try to make a go of it with this restaurant. And there's a kind of a romance that's written into this, featuring one of my favorite actresses, Linda Cardellini, who plays an old high school girlfriend of the Vince Vaughn character, and they reconnect, and there's all of that going on. But it's corny, and it's obvious, and it leans on platitudes and hazy memories of family gatherings in like homey, boisterous, loving Italian households, complete with all these favorite Italian-American needle drops like Funiculi, Funicula, and Lazy Mary, but it works for what it is. So, I give it a recommendation. It's directed by Steven Chbosky, who directed Dear Evan Hansen, Wonder, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower, so he does have a skill set. And again, the supporting cast is so wonderful and so of their characters that it was hard to resist this thing. And even as corny as it got, it didn't bug me. It didn't bug me. What was your feeling on it, Kim?
I didn't love it until the end. And you have to see the end because that's when the real nanas are shown. And I was in tears because the real nanas are amazing. The grandmas from all, and it ended up that this restaurant branched out from Italian food to all the different grandmas in the New York area, that brought in their own style of food. And this restaurant is still open and it's still going. And these old ladies that, they come in and they kind of find new breath and new purpose by cooking this food for people. And so they flash to all the real nanas that are in the kitchen. And it's just the coolest thing to think that this is really happening. So that for me made the movie.
Plus, the characters played by Vince Vaughn and Joe Manganiello in real life are best buddies and support one another. And you can see that in the parade of photos over the credits. But, for all of its flaws, I just thought people who like this kind of thing are going to really enjoy this.
There's something about this movie that's worth it, I would say. Yeah. And it's on Netflix, so it's super easy to watch, right?
Very easy. It was in theaters for a few days, I believe, because, they wanted to do that. But it is on Netflix, so it's simple. Now available on streaming, as I mentioned earlier, Death of a Unicorn. We didn't cover it when it was first released because, again, there was some kind of screening glitch or I was overwhelmed. But I kind of enjoyed it. It's a little silly. It's a little perfunctory in some ways and what it does, and the mythology is a little off, but it's a movie that stars an amazing cast led by Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega as a father and daughter who are on their way to a retreat where Rudd's character's boss, he's a lawyer, is going to lay down some of the stipulations of his inheritance and will for his wife and son. And the wife, first off, the boss is played by Richard E. Grant, and he is, of course, top notch. The wife is played by the too infrequently seen Taya Leone, and the son is played by Will Poulter, who is everywhere lately, the British young British actor who has been in the Marvel movies. He's just been all over the map, and he's obviously a talented guy. And there's even supporting work from an actor, Anthony Carrigan, who people love from Barry, the sitcom Barry, and is also showing up in the new Superman movie. So you got a really top-notch cast, and it's an interesting concept. Director, screenwriter Alex Sharpman has put together this mythology about unicorns on their way to meet with the boss. Rudd, as the father, is distracted on the road and hits an animal, and it turns out to be a unicorn, and it has magical qualities and connects with the daughter character. And when they get to this kind of remote location where the boss and his family live, this kind of lush mansion type area in the woods, the unicorn turns out to have at least a mom and a dad, and those unicorns are angry. And we get these like sweetness and light concepts of unicorns from, My Little Pony and what have you, but
Sure.
these are depicted as like monstrous and
Angry unicorns. Wow.
Yeah, don't kill a unicorn because it's trouble. No. I enjoyed it. It's satirical, maybe not brilliantly so, but the performers are good, and it's kind of an original sort of film. It's not something, again, I mentioned Sister Midnight was not something I'd ever seen before as it was presented. And I feel the same way about Death of a Unicorn. They took a few chances. It's ambitious. It has some funny moments. And even if it doesn't really work in toto, it's not the sort of thing that I would say you should avoid. The movie with The Weeknd, forget about it. But this is kind of interesting. And, if you don't like that monster quality, don't bother. But if you do, this is kind of cool. So that's it for films. We have a little breathing room. We can talk a little bit about streaming TV shows and what have you. Can you give me a minute or two?
Sure, absolutely. We're coming to the end, but please, Kate, you can run through the streaming options quickly. I know people are looking for stuff for the weekend.
Okay, I got to say, prefacing this, Andor, the Disney Plus series, Tony Gilroy's triumphant Star Wars prequel series detailing the events leading up to the film Rogue One, starring Diego Luna as Rebel Cassian Andor, Stellan Skarsgård as the spy master Luthen, and Genevieve O'Reilly as Senator Mon Mothma, wrapped up this week with a pod of 3 episodes. It was 4 weeks. Each week was 3 45-minute episodes amounting to a little mini movie if you watch them all together. And they are the years leading up to the events in Rogue One. And it is the smartest, the most adult, the most satisfying Star Wars thing in memory since the first 3 movies that were released back in the day. It's like spy-fi. You get the science fiction aspects of Star Wars, but you get genuine intrigue, military maneuvers. Someone likened it to the French-Algerian co-production Army of Shadows, which is one of the great quote-unquote war movies of all time that has to do with espionage and political intrigue. Great performances across the board, one of which is by the actress, and she is playing against type here when you see both offerings. Denise Gough. Denise Gough plays a villainous Imperial officer in Andor, and she's monstrous. And yet she shows up in a new TV series called The Stolen Girl, which is on ABC Freeform, playing a flight attendant who is a mother who comes in from work to her British home, and she and her husband live there with their daughter, and she goes to pick up her daughter at a private school in this show, The Stolen Girl. And the girl is apparently playing with a new friend, and the new friend's mom says, hey, they'd like to have a sleepover. She agrees to have the girl go with the mom and her new friend for a sleepover, and then the girl disappears.
Oh.
And they don't know what's happened to her. This is in the vein of the miniseries adaptations of Harlan Coben's mystery novels. The Stolen Girl is actually based on a novel called Playdate by Alex Dahl. And this woman, Elisa, who has a couple of kids, is completely freaked out. And she is going to move heaven and earth to find her daughter, Lucia, who disappears. Now, what's really intriguing about the casting here is not only do you get Denise Gough playing a character so radically different from her role in Andor, but the other mother is played by one of my favorite actresses, Holiday Granger, who is the assistant on CB Strike, or Strike as it's known in the UK, the terrific detective series that stars Tom Burke, and it's on HBO and HBO Max, and I highly recommended. Self-contained mystery stories, 3 to 5 episodes generally. And Holiday Granger also played Lucretia Borgia in the really cool miniseries, The Borgias. Here she plays the other girl's mother, Rebecca. And again, it's not what you'd expect. And the director of every episode of this is Eva Husson, who directed this really cool French movie called Bang Gang, which is a drama about a group of hard partying young people. I highly recommend the Stolen Girl, highly recommended. And I also want to say welcome back to Natasha Lyonne as Charlie Cale. Poker Face Season 2 is on Peacock. And Charlie, as you may know if you watch Season 1, is a wisecracking, scruffy, a psychic female 21st century equivalent to Peter Falk's Columbo character, complete with the wacky standalone mysteries each episode that begin by depicting the crime and lots of subsequent snark from Charlie, but with an ongoing plot about bad guys tracking her down to kill her for a transgression in Season 1. Now, if that continues in Season 2, I mean, I'm not telling. But one of the cool things about Poker Face is that it's the brainchild of director-writer Ryan Johnson, who has made, among other things, the star-studded Knives Out mystery movies that are so fun and funny. And this series, Poker Face, features a parade of renowned actors as suspects. Last season's guests included Adrian Brody, Benjamin Bratt, Ellen Barkin, Chloe Sevigny, Little Rel Howery, one of Mark's favorites. And in the first episode of the new season, the amazing and acclaimed Cynthia Erivo, who, of course, has been getting so much attention for her performance as Elphaba in the Wicked movie. She does a tour de force performance that I kind of don't want to spoil it, other than to say she is absolute greatness in that first episode of the new season of Poker Face. Loved it.
Okay. All right. I love it. Let's do a little recap. Your first movie that you reviewed was Hurry Up Tomorrow. It had you in disbelief, not in a good way. You said the script was a tedious mess, not recommended. Hurry Up Tomorrow. Hurry up and don't see this one. Sister Midnight.
Wait. Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan are caught up in this.
Oh, yeah. You still say don't see it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, don't do it. Sister Midnight. This is an arranged marriage movie. You said it had great acting. You called it bizarre, but yet comedic, not like anything you've ever seen before, but you really liked this one, and you got totally wrapped up in it, and you recommend Sister Midnight. Nanas, you called it a heartwarming comedy with a great cast of nanas. You said it works for what it is, and you recommend it. It's on Netflix. Also, Death of a Unicorn. You enjoyed this one as well. You said it was a great cast, thought it was original and ambitious. You said it might not completely work, but you recommend The Death of a Unicorn. As for streaming options, Andor, you called it the smartest, most satisfying piece of Star Wars film since the first 3 movies. That's Andor. You recommend it. The Stolen Girl, you said it's not what you'd expect. Highly recommended The Stolen Girl. Poker Face, Season 2, you loved it. You don't want to ruin the plot for us, but you say that is worth it as well. And that's it. Thank you so much, Michael Snyder. Awesome.
Hey, you're very welcome. Yeah. I'm in mourning, by the way. My Golden State Warriors faltered without Steph Curry able to play over the last 4 games of their series with the Timberwolves. And I still got my Giants to root for. And JL, love the work you do with Kim and when you're dropping in with Mark. Always a pleasure, man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Nice to meet your avatar.
He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye, Michael Snyder.
So long, everybody.